It was the middle of winter in a big, busy city. People walked fast, cars honked loudly, and buildings reached up like giants into the sky. Among the crowd, no one noticed the thin girl sitting by the side of the street. Her name was Lila. She was only 11 years old and she had nowhere to go. Lila wore an old red hoodie that was too small and had a hole in the sleeve. Her shoes didn't match, one had laces and the other didn't. Her skin was cold and her stomach growled like a wild dog. She hugged her knees, trying to stay warm, watching people pass her without even looking at her face. She wasn't always homeless. Lila used to live in a small apartment with her mom. They would dance around the kitchen while spaghetti boiled on the stove. But one day, everything changed. Her mom got sick, very sick, and had to go to the hospital. Then the rent was too high and the landlord told Lila they had to leave. There was no one else to call. No aunts, no uncles, no one. Just Lila, alone. She tried staying at a shelter once, but it was scary. People yelled at night and someone tried to steal her backpack. So she chose the streets instead. It was still scary, but at least it was quiet under the bridge where she slept on cardboard and listened to the wind sing sad songs. One morning, Lila woke up to find her cardboard bed soaked with rain. Her fingers were so cold she couldn't move them. Her lips were blue. She walked to a bakery nearby and pressed her face against the window. Inside, a little girl laughed as she bit into a pink donut. Lila felt a tear run down her cheek. That's when she whispered to herself, I don't want to live like this anymore. I want to be someone. I want to be different. She didn't know how. She didn't have money or a phone or even a place to sleep. But something inside her, something small but strong, began to glow. Maybe it was hope. Maybe it was fire. She didn't know. She just knew she couldn't give up. That night, Lila found a shiny magazine thrown in the trash. It had a picture of a beautiful girl on the front. Her dress sparkled like stars, and she was walking down a bright runway with cameras flashing. Lila stared at the photo for a long time. She had never seen anyone look so confident. The girl on the cover didn't look scared. She looked like she belonged. Lila tucked the magazine into her backpack and carried it everywhere. When she felt cold or scared, she looked at the picture. One day, she whispered, one day, I'll walk like that too. But things didn't get easier. Days passed. Lila tried asking people for change, but most ignored her. One man yelled at her to get away from his car. Another woman looked at her with disgust. It made Lila feel invisible, like she didn't matter. But every time she felt like giving up, she pulled out the magazine and looked at the girl on the cover. Keep going, she told herself. Don't stop. Then something strange happened. It was a cold Sunday afternoon. Lila was sitting outside a library, trying to keep her hands warm with a cup of tea someone had given her. She had her hoodie pulled up, eyes half closed, when a tall woman in a purple coat stopped in front of her. She had short curly hair and glasses with gold rims. Her voice was kind. Hey, the woman said, crouching down. Are you okay, sweetheart? Lila blinked. No one had called her sweetheart in a long time. She didn't know what to say, so she just nodded. The woman didn't leave. She sat beside her, right there on the cold step. My name is Maya, she said. I run a place called Hope House. We help girls like you. Not just food and beds, but real help. A fresh start. Lila's heart jumped. She had heard promises before, ones that ended with locked doors or empty rooms. But there was something about Maya's eyes. They weren't fake. They looked like they'd seen pain, too. Lila said nothing, but Maya handed her a card. Just think about it. Come by whenever you're ready. That night, the wind was worse than ever. Lila's hands shook. Her feet were wet. She looked at the card. Hope House, it said, where girls grow wings. She held it to her chest and made a choice. The next morning, Lila walked 10 blocks to the address on the card. Her stomach twisted with fear, but she walked anyway. She had nothing to lose. When she arrived, the door was painted bright yellow. It looked warm, like sunshine. A woman opened the door and smiled. You must be Lila, she said. We've been waiting for you. Inside, the air smelled like cinnamon and clean sheets. There were soft couches, warm blankets, and a fireplace. Lila's eyes filled with tears. She hadn't felt warm in so long. Hope House wasn't just a shelter. It was magic. The girls there were kind, the food was hot, and the beds had real pillows. But the best part was the room full of dreams. That's what Maya called it. It had books, art supplies, even mirrors. Girls could practice whatever made them feel powerful. One day, Maya saw Lila looking at her old magazine. Maya smiled and said, "You like fashion?" Lila nodded. "Well," Maya said, "there's a modeling workshop this weekend. I think you should go." Lila laughed. "Me? I don't look like those girls." Maya leaned closer. "You don't have to look like them. You just have to believe in yourself. That's what real beauty is." That night, Lila stared into a mirror. Her hair was messy, her clothes were worn, and her face had a little scar above her eyebrow. But for the first time, she didn't look away. She stood taller. She whispered, "Maybe I do belong. Maybe I can shine." She didn't know it yet, but that moment right there, in front of the mirror, was the beginning of everything. The spark inside her had turned into a flame. And it was only the beginning. Lila stood in the corner of the big, bright room with her hands tucked deep into her sleeves. She watched as girls walked across the floor, heads high, backs straight, like queens. They were practicing how to walk like models, slow, smooth steps, one foot in front of the other. Lila felt nervous. Her shoes were too old, her jeans were too baggy, and she wasn't sure she belonged. But Maya stood by the wall, smiling at her, giving her a small nod. Lila's heart beat fast. Her feet moved forward, almost like they didn't need her permission. She stepped onto the line of tape that was supposed to be a pretend runway. The first step was shaky. The second was better. By the third step, she remembered the girl on the magazine cover. She held that picture in her mind like it was a light in the dark. Her shoulders relaxed. Her chin lifted. And suddenly, she was walking, not just as a girl in hand-me-down clothes, but like someone who could be seen. When she finished, the room was quiet for a second. Then someone clapped. Then another. Lila looked up, eyes wide. She smiled, a real smile, big and bright. After the workshop, Lila and Maya sat on a bench outside. Maya handed her a small bottle of water and said, "See? You've got something special, Lila. People see it even if you don't yet." Lila shrugged, but her smile didn't fade. "It felt like flying," she whispered. "That's because you finally stopped hiding your wings," Maya said. At Hope House, Lila's life started to change one little piece at a time. She got her own toothbrush, her own pillow, a journal with a purple cover where she could write anything she wanted. And she wrote every night her fears, her hopes, her dreams of runways and flashing cameras. Still, change wasn't easy. Some days, Lila woke up with tears in her eyes. The past crept in like fog, cold and gray. She remembered sleeping in alleys, hearing footsteps that made her heart race. She remembered the hunger that made her dizzy, the nights she cried herself to sleep on cardboard. There were also moments when she doubted herself. At school, some kids whispered about her shoes or how quiet she was. Once, someone called her trash girl. Lila's hands clenched. She wanted to yell, to run, to hide. But then she thought of Maya's words, "You don't have to look like them. You just have to believe." So instead of running, Lila stood tall. She looked that kid in the eye and said, "I'm not trash. I'm treasure. You just can't see it yet." That night, Maya hugged her tight. "Proud of you," she whispered. "Proud of every step you take." Lila didn't stop walking. She started eating better. At first, it was hard. Her stomach wasn't used to regular meals. But the cook at Hope House, a kind woman named Rosa, made warm, healthy food that smelled like hugs. Lila started growing stronger. Her cheeks weren't hollow anymore. Her eyes looked brighter. She even laughed more. She joined dance classes on Saturdays. She didn't know her body could move like that. It felt like music ran through her veins. She began wearing clothes from the Hope House donation closet, colorful sweaters, clean jeans, even a pair of shiny boots. She looked in the mirror and saw someone rising, like a flower growing through cracks in concrete. One afternoon, Maya brought her to a small modeling agency called Shine Models. It wasn't big or famous, but it was real. The woman in charge, Ms. Natalie, had short silver hair and sharp eyes. She watched Lila walk and asked her to pose by the wall. Lila's knees trembled, but she stood still, shoulders back, just like she practiced. After a long pause, Ms. Natalie said, "She's got the look. But more than that, she's got the fire." Maya squeezed Lila's hand. "Told you." From that moment, Lila became a student of the dream. She practiced walking, standing, turning. She learned how to smile with her eyes. She read books on fashion and watched videos of runways. Ms. Natalie gave her homework, learned how to speak with confidence, answer questions, tell her story. Lila did it all. But there were still days when it hurt. Once at a photo shoot, someone whispered that Lila looked too rough to be a model. The words stung like thorns. That night, Lila sat on her bed, tears running down her face, fists balled up. Maya came in, sat beside her, and said nothing for a while. Then she pulled out a photo, the very first one Lila had taken at Hope House. In it, Lila looked small, scared, like a shadow of the girl she was now. Look how far you've come, Maya said. Look at your eyes now. You don't need anyone to tell you who you are. You already know. Lila wiped her tears. Do I really have a chance, Maya? You don't have a chance, Maya said, smiling. You have a path. And Lila kept walking it. She started booking small jobs, local fashion shows, charity events, photo shoots for handmade clothes. She got a little money which she saved carefully. She gave some back to Hope House. For the next girl, she said. One morning, Ms. Natalie called her with a voice full of excitement. You've been invited to New York Fashion Spark, she said. It's a showcase for new talent. You'll walk in front of real designers. Lila dropped the phone. Her hands flew to her mouth. Me, she whispered. They want me. When the day came, Lila wore a dress the color of a sunset, orange and gold with tiny gems that caught the light. Her hair was pulled back, her face glowing. As she stepped onto the runway, the lights were bright, the music loud, but her heart was calm. She didn't walk like she was pretending to be someone else. She walked like Lila, strong, graceful, powerful. She walked like a girl who had slept in the rain, cried in the dark, and still stood up. A girl who believed in herself. A girl who made it. The crowd clapped. Some even stood. Cameras flashed like stars. Lila smiled not for them, but for herself. Backstage, Maya hugged her. You did it, she whispered. No, Lila said, her voice steady. We did it. And even though her heels hurt and her feet were tired, Lila didn't want to sit. She wanted to keep walking, keep rising, keep becoming. Because the girl from the street was now a girl on the runway. And this was only the beginning. Lila sat backstage, heart racing, as she waited for her name to be called. She wore a long silver gown that shimmered like stars. Her hair was braided with tiny pearls. All around her were other models, tall and beautiful, chatting and fixing their makeup. But Lila stayed quiet, her hands folded in her lap. She wasn't nervous about the walk. She was thinking about where she had come from. Just 1 year ago, she had been sleeping on park benches. Just 1 year ago, she had no home, no food, no hope. Now, she was about to walk the runway at one of the biggest fashion shows in the country. It didn't feel real. The stage manager waved her forward. You're next, Lila. She stood, straightened her shoulders, and took a deep breath. The lights were blinding as she stepped onto the stage, but the fear didn't reach her. She walked like she belonged. With each step, she remembered every hard moment, crying in the rain, being called names, feeling invisible. And with each step, she let those memories go. She wasn't that girl anymore. The cameras flashed. The crowd gasped. Someone whispered, "Who is she?" She was Lila James, a girl who had come from nothing and made it to the top with heart, hope, and help. After the show, people clapped and asked for pictures. Reporters ran up to her. "What's your secret?" one asked. "My secret?" Lila smiled gently. "Someone saw the light in me before I saw it in myself." Later that night, Lila sat in her tiny apartment, no bigger than a classroom, with one window and a little bed. She placed her heels on the floor and looked out at the moon. Her phone buzzed. It was Maya. "Watch the show," Maya said. "You were glowing." "Thank you," Lila whispered. "No, thank you," Maya said. "For not giving up." Lila smiled, tears in her eyes. "I want to help someone now. The way you helped me." Maya didn't say anything at first. Then, quietly, "That's how we keep the light going." The very next day, Lila visited Hope House again. This time not as a girl needing help, but as a woman ready to give it. The kids screamed her name and hugged her tightly. She laughed with them, braided their hair, played games, and gave out new clothes she had collected from fashion companies. One little girl, shy with big eyes, asked, "Were you ever like me?" Lila knelt down. "Yes, sweetie. I was just like you. I didn't have a home. I was sad. But then I met Maya. She helped me believe in myself. And now I believe in you." The girl smiled for the first time that day. Word about Lila spread fast. She was invited to speak at schools, on TV, and even at City Hall. People listened, really listened, when she spoke. She didn't use fancy words. She used true words. She talked about hunger, fear, kindness, and never giving up. She showed photos, one of her sleeping on a bench, another of her on the runway. She created a small group called Lila's Light. It helped girls living in shelters by giving them clean clothes, modeling classes, and a chance to believe in their beauty again. It wasn't just about fashion. It was about feeling seen. Soon, more companies reached out. They offered her modeling contracts, book deals, even a chance to act in a movie. But Lila only said yes to the ones that let her share her story. "I don't want to just wear clothes," she told her agent. "I want to wear courage." One cold evening, as snow gently fell on the city, Lila returned to the park where it all began. She walked slowly, the wind soft against her cheeks. She passed the same bench where she once fainted from hunger. It was empty now. She sat on it, silent, remembering. Then, from across the street, a girl approached. Her hair was tangled. Her jacket was too small. She looked scared. "Are you okay?" Lila asked gently. The girl hesitated. "No one ever asks me that." "Well, I'm asking now," Lila said. "Want to come with me? There's a warm place. A place with food, and beds, and people who care." The girl looked unsure. Lila held out her hand. "I used to be right where you are. I know it's hard to believe, but things can change. I promise." Slowly, the girl took her hand. That night, Lila brought her to Hope House. The girl ate soup, got clean clothes, and smiled as she fell asleep in a soft bed. And Lila stood at the door, watching her, remembering her own first night in that same room. She whispered to herself, "This is why I'm here. This is why I made it." Years passed and Lila's name became known around the world. But she never forgot her roots. She kept helping, kept believing, kept walking in hope. Because the secret behind her stunning transformation wasn't magic. It was love. It was kindness. It was never giving up. And most of all, it was one person saying, "I see you," and meaning it. And now she was that person for others. The light never went out. It only grew stronger.